You're a parent. You've been parenting for a while. You score yourself 1 out of 10 today for parenting, and it's going to be a different score than you gave yourself yesterday, and it'll be a different score to the one you get tomorrow, and also it'll be the different score to the one your partner gives you, as opposed to the one that your children give you. It's very, very difficult to know if you're doing a good job at parenting. Really, the only probably the only proof really is the pudding that comes out at the end. Proof in the pudding? Is that a thing? Anyway, towards the end, when people go, "Hey, you've got a good kid there," and you sort of think, "Yeah, I do. That's a good kid. Must have done a good job." It's hard to know where the good news is going to come from a lot of the time. I realized just the other day that during pandemic, there was actually a YouTube show that launched during pandemic called Some Good News. John Krasinski, the actor, the American actor, launched a news network essentially called Some Good News because everyone was stuck at home and they were making videos. And of course, there was a lot of conspiracy theory videos, which of course have died off a lot since then. But the point is this: he started this thing that became enormously popular because it was full of joy. It was good news. There was kids involved. I think there was animal stories, all of that kind of stuff. And I feel like a lot of the parenting journey is about trying to find what's the good news, because you're always dealing with so many things. Between the emails and the texts from the school to the sports club your kid is involved with, to is the house running, to the renovation you're trying to do, to the holiday you're supposed to plan. There's so many things that are little points of tension that sometimes it's incredibly difficult to stop, take a breath and go, is there any good news in all of this? Amongst all of the bad, and there's got to be some good news. And so, but I think we end up often just landing on that sort of the silly, the stupid, or the distracting. And Heath and I are kind of famous for that as well. But I wondered whether you could take a moment with your own child, in fact, and maybe ask them this week, tell me something good that I've done lately. Because I've found that in talking to my children, they're pretty clear. If I ask them, it's a dangerous question to ask. But we like to figure things out here on this podcast. And if you haven't checked it out yet, do check out the episode we did with my son and his mate with the No Direction podcast boys, because that was an interesting one. Just asking them, have I done an okay job here, mate? Talking to my 19-year-old son. Maybe that's something you could do yourself. And, take a deep breath before you ask your children if you've done a good job. But why don't we take a bit of time during this ep to find out if there's any good news going on in our parenting? For that to happen, we've decided we're going to invite another expert in. And so right after this, a brand new expert in the Father's Figure studio. His name's Ryan Moloney. I think you'll like him. He's a good neighbour.
Hey! Good to be here, man.
I know, isn't it, though? I mean, every time you come into the studio, I have to... the kids used to say big up each other. You big up. Is big up? What do they do now?
Never heard
big
of
ups to you, brah.
Really?
Oh man, when I was a hip young thing.
What the hell?
I don't know. It was sometime between Fresh Young Prince, Fresh Young Prince. Sometime between. It's probably around the.
What are we? We're about 6 or 7 years age difference. Yeah, I'm a little bit older, and I feel like that's where the gap is.
Right.
I think our guest is probably more aligned with your
don't
age.
introduce the guest yet.
We want to.
No, we don't yet.
He's sitting there waiting
I'm trying to build up the excitement of having you in the studio first. I mean, it's just a great privilege. I mean, by the way, your whatever scent you're wearing this evening is glorious.
It's working.
It's working for me.
My Homer Simpson scent.
Got a musk up if you're coming on Father Figures. It's great to have you in the studio, mate, and great to be co-hosting with you once more. But please, why don't actually? I'm gonna let you do this intro because I feel like
it's very special. I never intro. He never lets me do this, Ryan.
This doesn't.
So
Hey, don't say Ryan yet.
Well, no. We've
that sense really is working, mate.
Okay. So now the guest who nobody knows yet.
Well, they do because it's on the episode title.
Oh, it's on the episode title.
Yeah, they've worked it out already. Okay, it's not really a big reveal.
I really feel like we've lost our mysterious aura. And I'm pretty much blaming you. Anyway, McSullivan, introduce your mate.
Well, this is my good friend, Ryan Moloney. Ryan, great to have you on, mate. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, legends. How are you guys?
Good, mate. Thanks for taking the time. Ryan, you and Heath have known each other for...
I reckon it's about the early 2000s, probably.
You reckon about that?
Yeah, well, I remember... let's go with that, because I think Bibby and I, who is our mutual sort of friend, Andrew Bibby, who we interviewed on this podcast a couple of weeks ago. I met Andrew in about 1998, 1999.
Can I just say this already sounds like an old man chat?
It's so
I'm,
is.
I'm pretty sure
It was a Tuesday.
and it was the sun was shining.
2000. Yes.
I remember they just released the new Coke flavour.
Yeah. It was Pearl Jam's first world tour.
But no, anyway, I met Ryan through Bibby. Now, both Ryan and Bibby were long time, and still we'll talk about that with Ryan in a second. We're both on the TV show Neighbours, which many people know. So Bibby played a character, Lance. Lance shared a house with a guy called Toadie.
Oh, they were the housemates.
Yep.
House of Trouser. That's what it was.
Now, Daniel McPherson was your third. I can't remember what his character's name was now, though. So
Joel Samuels.
Joel, that's right. So the three of you
bloody
guys.
male model from Mudgee.
Yeah, he was too. Gosh.
Yeah.
Old Macca.
Okay.
So that's how. So we met, and I think I might have even said it when we interviewed with Bibby. I remember, the Neighbours cast, and I'm not sure what it's like these days, but certainly back in the day, it was almost like if you're friends with one of them, you were invited to be friends with everyone.
So it actually was a cast of people that got along quite well and.
Well, certainly
connected
back
as well.
then in the 2000s. I don't know,
pretty
Ryan,
cool.
if that's changed over time, but it was really amazing.
Yeah, no. Everyone still gets along, really, really well. I mean, obviously, there's times where people don't, but on a whole, it's it's really kind of quite a large family in a way. It's quite nice. It's a unique place.
How long
it's
have
a
you
shame
been?
that it's finishing, to be honest. But yes, anyway.
Yeah.
So how long have you been involved in the show overall then?
30 years I've been there.
30 years. Do you
I started when I was 15.
get out? I think
yeah.
I do remember that.
I remember the character Toadie.
Yep.
Because that would have been, I guess that would have been the 90s.
30 years ago.
Yeah, so 95, it's somewhere there. So just around Pearl Jam releasing Vitality. And so we were singing Don't Call Me Daughter and catching up with Toadie during the week. But you're still involved in the show, is that right?
Yeah, so I kind of finished up like acting with them a year ago, kind of. They kind of had me back for like about 5 weeks, a week here, a week there and whatnot.
Right.
And then I will be completely finished. And then also throughout that period of time, I've been doing director training and directing episodes and whatnot. So I've been having a fantastic time doing that. That's
great.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Wow. What made you think I want to try directing? Because it's a really different discipline, I'm guessing, to the acting side.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely, it's incredibly creative. It's very collaborative as well. I know one of the other directors said that, when he first started directing, and the producer at the time said, congratulations, because it's Scotty Major. So he was an actor on Neighbours, and the producer said, "Oh, congratulations! You've gone from the most pampered role on set to the loneliest role on set."
The loneliest role. Wow.
But I actually find it the complete opposite.
Okay.
Because I'm very much in the mindset of I don't need to know everything. Everybody there is absolutely, brilliant at what they do. They're experts at what they do. So it's actually my role to get them to buy in and to get them to do their best stuff for me. And that's kind of, it's such a joy to be able to kind of go, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking. Does this even work?
So, hang on, I get the feeling you're the cool. Are you the cool dad? Is that right? You're the playful cool dad?
Me?
Yeah.
In real life?
And, well, for real life, but I'm saying the collaborative approach, the creative approach you're speaking about seems like you've got an enormous amount of trust in the people around you and you're playing with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I wouldn't say that I'm the cool fun dad. I'm probably a long way from that, to be honest. I've been working full time and building farms and properties for I don't know nearly 10 years now, and studying commercial pilot training, and I've been doing so much all the time and juggling quite a lot. So I wouldn't say that I'm the cool dad.
Do you find it hard to put the character down when you walk away?
I don't find it hard to put the character down, but there's residual. There has to be residual.
Yeah.
You're telling your brain to do all these sorts of weird and wonderful things and believe all these horrific things are happening to you. And that sets off all the chemicals in your brain, and anxiety,
Yeah.
goes through the roof, and your stress levels go through the roof. And I
So
certainly know that, probably after having left kind of for like the last 12 months, it's very much a case of going, gee whiz, I really kind of screwed myself up there. I need to
Wow.
just have some time to actually come back to me and to find that fun dad again.
so
Which is
there's a lot of risk involved, emotional risk that you've taken in taking on an acting role that I guess it would be different to acting in, say, a movie once a year. You've played this character for 30 years and gone the whole journey with the character.
yeah.
Has that impacted your home life much, do you think?
Yeah, of course,
Mm.
because I'm, grumpy and snappy, and, my emotional baggage is at its fullest.
Yeah.
So when you're also talking about, additional stresses, and you're going, oh, hey, look, let's build a house.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, let's not build a house, let's build a farm.
Yeah. I'm gonna say it's not just it's the whole kit and caboodle, mate.
Yeah, yeah. And for me to do quite a lot of the work as well.
Yeah.
So
Is that part of the catharsis, though? The doing of the work is the getting rid of some of that built up, that pent up anxiety and whatever that you're working out, you're tilling a field, that sort of thing?
yeah, it can be. I don't know. It's the joy, it's also, probably part of the joys of having ADHD, and that you hyper focus on
Yeah,
one
yeah,
thing.
yeah. So when you say that, that's an actual diagnosis that you've got for yourself?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And like that, there'll be times like it happened just the other day where I'm like, all of a sudden I just kind of come out of a hyper focus, and I go, oh my gosh, I've been in this hyper. How long have I been in this hyper focus for?
Yeah.
Mm.
It feels like it's been weeks, if not months,
Mm.
of just
Wow.
kind of, into
Wow.
that.
Wow.
Um, yeah. So
That's
it's kind
crazy.
of. I'm trying to now not be there. I'm now trying to actually get life back, and get the head back, and all that kind of stuff. In fact, I don't know. I mean, can you see? I don't know if you can see
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
I've got a little headband around my wrist as a reminder that when I start to get cranky and angry, we can just go, oh, hang on a second, dude. Life doesn't actually have to be that. You actually have a choice,
Yeah,
and just
right.
put that aside, and actually, enjoy life.
So the
So,
the cognitive snap happens when you snap the little lacquer band on your wrist.
yeah, yeah. It's just, like it's kind of there, and I look at it and I see it, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, great, cool, excellent.
Yep.
What's going on
Yep.
where with me at the moment. It certainly helps with hyper focuses, because you'll be tunnel vision the whole way. So it's kind
Mm.
of like, hang on, what's going on? Where
Yeah.
are we?
That's
Um,
amazing. The entire time I've known you, I'd say you've been an incredibly busy person. You've always had a lot going on. You've never really missed an opportunity, I feel, to sort of not to be busy, but just to never miss an opportunity. If something comes your way, and I just looking at your eyes now, I know this is people listening to this, but your eyes kind of light up, and you go, yeah, yeah, like you take advantage of the opportunities that come at you. What are the things?
in fact, I mean, that's probably why I'm not in the room with you at the moment, because I've said yes to too many opportunities.
Exactly right. Exactly.
My
Well,
plate is too
exactly.
full.
You're like, yeah, of course I can meet you in
Yeah.
the studio, and then reality is, no, actually I can't, because I live over an hour away, and that's just not going to work. Reality doesn't work. What are the things when you look back over your life, over from when you were a kid, and you look through, are there particular markers of your life that you look at and go, oh, that was a bit of a game changer for me, or that was a bit of a game changer? Is there anything that jumps out at you?
I mean, probably. I mean, performance-wise, it was the Dee and Toadie storyline, losing the wife on the wedding day. That
Yeah.
moment, or that kind of that's where my acting kind of went to the next level, in terms of it was now no longer pretending anymore. It was real, it was alive in me, and I've
Wow.
actually got to be really careful with it, because if I like it just this kind of like hole in my soul ripped open, and now all of a sudden all this sadness and torment just pours out, and it just happens like this. So I've actually got to be really careful with it, and
Wow.
make sure it doesn't keep happening, because it does. It just goes. And so probably that's kind of where it was like, oh wow, excellent. This is really what acting is really about now. I don't have to think about what the script is anymore. I don't have to think about what the intention is anymore. It's real, it's alive, it's in my brain, and it's coming out. And so from that point, then it's like, all right, cool. So now what do we do with this? How do we manage this? What kind of stories can we tell? How do we manipulate audiences within this as well? How do we take audiences on particular journeys and what do we want them to feel? So that's kind of what it's been from that point. So that was certainly a game changer. And I think probably the Toadie Sonia stuff was certainly a game changer as well. Also finishing up. Finishing up on Neighbours has been like actually going back. I'm glad. So when Neighbours finished up, for the first time, nearly 2 years ago.
Yep.
And because that was the whole show finishing, and I've been there the whole time, saying goodbye to people, year after year after year. And it certainly didn't feel like I actually finished because the whole thing just finished. So there was certainly a lacking of me having some level of completion. And then coming back and spending the next year and the journey that we went on, within the character and where we took it to and which I'm incredibly proud of, telling a very huge mental health storyline.
Wow.
That was certainly, and actually finishing was certainly like that was a very lovely feeling for me to kind of go, all right, cool. We are now complete. And probably when the producers, when Jason rang me up and he said, oh, hey, we've decided, so when I got fired, right. And we decided not to, to take up your next 12 months, which is, that was their intention the whole time. But it was at that point, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, I certainly know in my brain that whenever I've got a contract, it's only been for, say if it's for 3 years or, 12 months option, 12 months option, 12 months. In my brain, I've only ever been there for 12 months.
Right.
So people go, oh, how's it been there for 30 years? It's like, well, I haven't been here for 30 years. I've only been here for 12 months.
Yeah.
New job
Again,
every year. Yeah.
Again, kind of thing. And so in my brain, when it's like, oh, we've decided to not take you to continue on, it was like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for 30 years for this moment
Oh, wow.
of when for when I get fired.
For real, forever.
It was the biggest gift because Neighbours is one of those things where it takes over your life. It's your life. And certainly, in terms of like the shooting schedule, the amount of time that you spend with it, and even just, outside of, work, it's everywhere within my life. And so it just kind of takes over everything. And, if somebody keeps offering you what is really an amazing job, and, it's an amazing job. You work with just such talented people and such lovely people, and you turn up and you have a good time, most of the time, and you get paid really well to do it, you're going to keep saying yes. So every time they're going to go, here's another 12 months, you're going to go, yeah, of course I'm going to do it, even though you want to leave. So there's that thing of kind of going, when they take that decision from you, it's like, oh, thank Christ.
Finally, somebody did it for you.
Yeah, like I could never walk away and without the thing of going, oh, what if? Whereas now it's actually just what now?
So how long ago? We're talking to you within weeks of this having happened. Is that correct?
No, I can't. Well, that conversation happened over 12 months ago.
Oh, that's 12. Okay, right. I'm just trying to add up the timeline here. 30 years on Neighbours. Children are 16 and 18. 10 to 12 years into your career on Neighbours. At some point, you've found Ali, your wife.
Before the kids.
And you've had children in there. How did the wrestle go initially? Because you seem like a very emotionally connected person. You would have wanted to be there. You seem like the kind of guy that would have wanted to be there for every second of their lives, kind of stuff. That must have been a huge wrestle when the kids showed up. Because you're talking about a job that is a beautiful job, lovely job. Not many men get to say, I like my job, it pays well, and they keep asking me to come and do it. So that's a pretty remarkable thing. Even from an emotional perspective, to have that connection to work, that's amazing. And then children show up. Do you remember that shift? Do you remember things shifted? Do you remember the wrestle?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't. Oh, well, yeah, certainly. Yeah, I kind of do understand that wrestle actually. But it's more just the wrestle of that, like Neighbours owns you. So like your contract is to be there whenever they ask.
Right.
Really.
Yep.
And you get your schedule, maybe on the Thursday for the following week.
Right.
And you might be there for an hour or you might be there for 12 hours or whatever, on each day, but it's all subject to change. And so, yeah, it's the constant kind of juggle of having to constantly change your plans as to who's picking up the kids, who's taking them to swimming, who's doing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And I know I was meant to, but now the schedule's changed and I can't do that now. And,
So it's kind of like being a shift worker, but on
On notice.
it's like
Yeah.
it's a shift worker on Red Bull. Like,
Yeah.
the shift could actually change. So I feel like I'm talking to you. You've talked about the hyper focus, but you're also a shift worker. So sleep schedules, all that sort of stuff. Your energy levels moving all of the time. Are you a much more patient man than most around you? Did you develop patience over that time, or were you just on edge the whole time? How does it feel to be in that place with work life balance?
I think I used to be quite patient. I think now that's kind of worn down after trying to do so much, really.
Yeah.
The burnout is real, but it's recognizing that and then kind of going, all right, cool, something's off here. There's the shift has got to, or the mental shift is kind of gone one direction, and we actually need to start bringing it back to to something good and happy and wholesome and lovely and good to be around, which is nice. Which we're doing, and it's a juggle. It's great. I'm loving it, and I'm very open about it with the kids as well. Something could happen, and I'll just shout and yell at Jack or something like that, and then it'll be like 10, 15 minutes later, I'll be like, I'm really sorry. I should not have done that.
Yeah.
That was
Sorry, just take a pause here. Who amongst us has done that before? Every hand's up in the studio, and I'm sure a fair few blokes listening are on the same level. But so this has been something that's been present, but it feels like it's crept up on you, and maybe you've become the focus, or the lens has been put on it more recently for you. Has it become something that you've become more aware of in these mid-40s somewhere?
Well, I think probably just with the storyline that we finished with, like that did quite a lot. So the big thing of finishing up on Neighbours, after 30 years, this is everything
It's huge.
that I've known. This is a complete different life. And so as such, so it was like, oh, okay, you know what? I actually quit alcohol then. It was kind of like, you know what? I need to, when this happens, I need to actually be for whatever comes up, for however we roll, because I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know, because I've, Ian Smith, who plays Harold, he was like, he has said before, that, you just got to be really careful, man. I feel like, you're going to just go down in a hole when it finishes for you and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I don't.
This is
actually
coming
feel
from
that.
someone that knows you and loves you, and knows what you're like. Yeah, okay, yeah.
So it's kind of like, yeah, okay, cool. No, I don't, I don't agree with that, but in the same breath as like, I don't know what's going to, come of me. And I would love to get back to that point of just going, just let's have some fun in life. If it's not fun, let's not do it.
Yeah. It's a good theory.
I started out in the intro talking about finding the good news. And I feel like that's maybe the process you're in at the moment. Your life has been joyful and full of great stuff, but the great stuff becomes a great big weight after a while. And now the weight has, the counterbalance happens. Suddenly you're Ryan without Neighbours, but you've also got a farm and you're training as a pilot. And so I guess the question I'm asking is, where's the simple fun stuff that just balances, or is that the simple fun stuff? I don't know. Maybe working with llamas and flying above them is the thing you want to be doing.
Or taking llamas flying. That's gotta be.
Can I say, we're registering that trademark right now. That's a kid's storybook waiting to happen. I'm writing it with you.
Excellent. Yes, I can see the comic already.
Exactly. Heath, get on the.
We're on it, mate. I'll get onto my publisher right now.
The llama who flew.
With the headset on and
that's
playing the
great.
plane. Yeah, I like it.
Where's the simple for Ryan Moloney now?
Simple. Jack goes. He's into go-karting, and that's actually kind of partly why I couldn't make it with you guys, is because we're heading away for a big competition tomorrow. And so he loves go-karting, and I love the mechanics of it.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely love the mechanics of it. It's like the only place, because like I got my commercial license, pilot's license ages ago, and I was actually doing my instructor's rating, and I kind of got about halfway through it and was like, I actually need to do this as a job. Otherwise, I need to keep paying for all of my hours all the time.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, maybe when Neighbours finishes, I can do it as a job. And then it kept going, and then we started building farms and all that kind of stuff. So, I don't have that license anymore. But the point of it is that go-karting is actually the only place I've found where this knowledge comes into play so heavily. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is something where you and your boy can go. You love the mechanics. You love understanding. Understanding the aerodynamics and the all of those things.
Yeah, the geometry of stuff, and even down to carburetor tuning and the air densities and all that kind of jazz.
What I wanted to ask you about, because I suspect it's something that maybe a lot of people might be thinking, or might have you've probably been asked it a lot of times. The price of fame. What's the price of fame been for you? Because you've essentially been a known face and person since you were 15 years old. You're 45. I guess you probably haven't had a lot of time where people haven't known who you are. How would you register that price of fame, both in the good and the bad of it?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know any different. So that's just life. It comes with opportunities. And it comes with costs as well. I'd say, well, certainly for Erin, my daughter, she does not like being the center of attention and whatnot. So, when people do, carry on or make it quite loud and all that kind of stuff and draw attention, she does not like it. So it's probably more of an effect on her.
Yep.
Yeah, look, you just kind of take it with a grain of salt, really. You kind of understand that it's not real. It's not really that important.
Yeah.
It's fame is one of those things. It's a personal thing that is put onto you.
Yeah.
So it's not about me at all. It's about the person who's views me as famous and kind of. It's the way I've thought about it since I was very young is that it's almost like a measuring stick, in that fame is, if you kind of look up to someone, it's like the thing of that you're not good enough, or that you're not as good as. If you feel like you need to say, oh, I don't watch it, or I'll put you down or something like that. It's actually putting you above this sense of stature that that you're actually giving to that person. I'm not asking for it, you're actually giving it to me, and you're trying to put yourself above it. Stuff like that, where it's kind of about the person.
It's funny, I remember hearing Jerry Seinfeld talk about it, because he used to do that.
Comedians in Cars?
The Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, where he'd be having coffee with, different comedians, and some of them would be quite famous, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been...
I've only watched the whole series 17 times, so just tell me.
But it might have been Michael Richards, who played Kramer.
Yeah. We're saying,
and somebody, wants to come up and take a photo of Jerry and obviously Michael Richards. And Jerry's like, Michael's like, how do you cope with that? This is so invasive. And he's like, seriously, Michael.
We are flies on a windshield.
We are flies on a windshield. It's just phenomenal. His approach was great. He goes, what does it hurt me for somebody to come up and take a selfie with me? He goes, I've made their day. They're going to talk about that forever. I'm going to move on with my day. He goes, there's no point in me getting upset. The only person I'm going to get upset with is myself, and what's the point of that? I remember when I saw that, it made me think of someone like you, and I know Bibby as well, as two people that sort of I know that have fame associated with them, that you really do just take it as normal part of your life. Spent copious amounts of hours with you in the general public, so to speak. And mate, it's just, you don't even bat an eyelid at it. It's just, like you say, it's a normal part of your life. And I really admire that in you, and I admired that in Andrew, in Bibby at the time as well. just this notion of people wanting to flock attention to you. And I was telling Justin just the other day, and you probably don't remember the story, but one time I visited you over when you were doing Panto, and you were in Manchester or somewhere around there in the UK. You had a nightclub appearance after the show one night, and you said to me, mate, you got to come with me to this nightclub appearance. It'll blow your mind. And I remember going, oh, okay, here we go. And I remember when we got there, we had to walk through the crowd for some reason, and there was this huddle of security guards. There must have been about 10 of them that huddled around you and I as we walked through this crowd. And you were just like, yeah, whatever, this is just not... And I'm just like looking around going, what is going on? And, then you went up and you did your thing and came back down, same thing happened. And then when we left the nightclub to walk back to your apartment, you were like, hey, it's all right, guys. Me and Heath will be right to walk back. And the security guards go, no, we're going to go with you. And they followed us back, and there was crowds of people, and they surrounded us at different points as we sort of walked through. And I felt like I got this glimpse of what your life is like, not all the time, but at times. And you were just so, not blasé, but just so okay with it. And I was just like, what is just happened? Like, this is not normal. This is so bizarre. And, also because I know you as Ryan, my mate, I'm also like, and it's just Ryan.
But you see, though, although we're kind of talking about it in that that aspect of that people give you all this attention, it's not necessarily warranted. In the same aspect, understanding that people are giving you this level of hierarchy in society in a way, that has afforded me to be able to do things like go and do a heap of charity work, and know that that it has made a difference for those people that I'm doing stuff with,
without a doubt.
And so like I wouldn't be able to certainly walk into the Starlight Room or walk around the hospital wards and all this kind of stuff if I was just
if you were just Ryan Moloney.
If you were just Heath.
Yeah.
If you were just Heath, yeah.
That is really the way that we became better mates, was when you were being the patron for CBM, who I used to work for back in the day. So back in the day it was Christian Blind Mission, and we went on lots of trips, and certainly loving the fact that you did use that and you were happy to sort of use that notoriety of who you were in order to help the charity do better, raise more money, make more impact, give more sight to people who are blind.
The only times I would use my fame is for charity work, or to see if I could get into a nightclub.
I love that.
And at 45 now, that's a bit weird. So
Well, yeah, it's been a long time.
Okay, all right, that's enough. You know that neither Heath nor I or Ryan have bothered getting ourselves in a nightclub in a long time. Hey, we had such a fascinating conversation with Ryan that we thought we might do it in two parts. So that's part one. Part two will be coming up next week on your favourite podcasting station. But before we get there, of course, I have to go out and write a new book called The Llama Who Flew, as well as going and getting my commercial pilot's license, so that I can speak correctly about the llama who flew, I guess, and bring something relevant back to this conversation. What an astounding guy. Amazing. What a huge, amazing conversation. Thanks heaps to Heath, who organised Ryan to come on the pod. It's been fascinating. And as I said, more to come next week. By the way, if you do like what we're doing here at Father Figures, please like and subscribe and leave a comment, and let us know what you think. Maybe even throw a few suggestions in there for children's storybooks. Anyway, I'm Justin. This is Father Figures. We'll see you next week. God bless.